I wasn't partying. It's not like I went to party, but I mean, it was a very busy day for me, a very long day. But as you running your own business, there's no Saturday and Sunday, so I don't count the days like Saturdays and Sundays. For me, any day is the same. There's no difference for me.
Well,
And for the younger generation, is kind of a lot easier because um, they don't have these relationships to be involved in them and be invested in relationships. So it's easier to find the time and be like, you know what, especially now you work from home. So
so Pete, we have already people showing up.
yeah, okay.
So maybe introduce yourself. What is it you do? And as we have discussed, we're going to talk about marketing and how Metaverse and Web3 changes it. And hopefully we're going to touch on the case of our partner who is
Yeah,
providing networking for our guests today, Room 3D. It's going to be happening a bit later. And this session, I'm currently talking to the guests, will be a bit more interactive. It's going to be more dialogue based, so feel free to ask any questions in the chat and the QA, so we can make it a bit more interactive and a bit more lively than a regular presentation we usually have. So yeah, Pete, take it away.
okay. Well, the first thing I want to do is, because it's very hard, I don't see anyone, but I would like to thank everyone who is actually attending on Sunday, because Sunday is day for most people to relax and take a break. But I really appreciate the time that they're taking to really join to an event on over the weekend. My full name is Peter Petrov, but I've been called Pete all the time because I live in Britain. Be I've built a few businesses, brick and mortar mostly. I've been an IT consultant for over 30 years. And the last, say, nearly a year, I've been doing Web3 marketing. Now, again, Web3, this is the brief introduction to myself. I specialize personally in business development, business strategy, go-to-markets, business models, in everything related to business and business growth. But I run a marketing company and have some clue about marketing. And we're gonna touch on Web3, which is the very well and overused word these days. Web3 is a marketing term. At the end of the day, it's another iteration of the internet. And as many of you probably know and don't, the first iteration was just very static. It was pages and there was nothing special happening. And after that, we had the second iteration. It became more dynamic. We start seeing blogs, Wikipedias, and whatnot. So, but where that going wrong, we think we still use it, is that the collection of data is one of the main, it's not a weakness, but the power big corporations have over us, and we give them information freely. And Web3, the third iteration, is supposed to and aims at changing all of that, giving power back to the user, where you interact with your phone and most happens under the hood of your phone and not as much on the server. I mean, this is the aim for it. Hence the peer-to-peer. Most of you know Bitcoin as a blockchain technology. We serve as nodes, so each individual is kind of responsible to hold the data. That's based on the Web3, which we're going to talk about, and then we can touch on NFTs. Maybe I'm not nowhere expert in NFTs. The technology side of it, NFTs have probably the greatest future of all. And what I think has happened is we've heard quite a lot about it because people went on the hype. And I'll try today to kind of really curb it down a bit, because I think the hype is hurting many people. And the hype was that NFT are something great and we can make all we're gonna make money, because the first NFT which we heard about sold, I think it was nearly 70 million. That was a game if people find out and want to go under the hood and see how that actually happened. But at the end of the day, NFT can have very, very good utility for specific industries. There's no doubt about it, but they're very complex to implement because they've done smart contracts. And marketing. What about marketing or how much marketing actually has changed? I don't personally believe that marketing as an industry would change that much. The tools will be probably slightly different, and they are already coming up with different tools. It's a lot easier to target communities. We call them communities these days because of Web3. Communities have existed before. People used to go to churches, have local communities. They still do, but they're not as powerful as before. Then we moved and transitioned to Facebook groups, and today we call them communities based on some interest. Let's say it's an NFT or Web3 project. But marketing at the end speaks to the user, and the user is a human being behind a keyboard, a phone, and that's in general my looks over Web3, and we should stop using these words and fancy words because that's what actually damages the industry. Because the people down the street do not understand any of these terms. I don't know. We're gonna pivot now. I think Ivan would be best to. I mean, I can talk about the big picture where I see it, where I see it's going.
Well, let's touch upon the big picture. Let's touch upon the big picture, what it is, and also like, while I agree with you that Web3 marketing, Metaverse marketing are all terms which, if you really think about it, don't really mean anything. It's just marketing in a different place. It's still just not to confuse anyone. They just ways which we categorize where we do marketing. It's like Instagram marketing and Facebook marketing. Again, they're not that much different from each other. They're just platforms. Well, that's what
I mean, marketing, at the end of the day, marketing is kind of umbrella for quite a lot of things, which today, down to internet, what has happened is we separated into social media, then we say digital media, then there's far too many separations because I think a lot of people want to be part of this kind of world of marketing. Marketing in general, and where marketing comes and where it actually evolved from, mostly is psychology. It's nothing else, human behavior. And then people started studying human behavior. One of the biggest marketers, when you go back in time, was Sigmund Freud, I think nephew. In fact, don't quote me on that, but I think he was very related to Sigmund Freud, and he was one of these people who actually invented great things, how to manipulate people. That was it. So how we can make people like our products. The only way you can do that is touch on their feelings and maybe use logic, but it's a lot more complex.
Well, yeah, again, like I will like self-plug myself here, but original marketers are churches, religion, ancient dictators.
Yeah.
Like that's where like the techniques, I believe, are still the same as were used by those institutions. We just didn't have free business back then as we do right now.
Yeah, it's a mass hypnosis at the end of the day. That's what it is.
So what about like the big picture? Obviously, like marketing is a bit different for small companies and big companies. Like obviously with Metaverse.
Yeah, well, right now what we do in Web3, what commonly we see is most of the time people will start, I mean, especially content creators, they'll keep talking about these brands, the big names. The only way you can get adoption, supposedly, is when you state these big names, which kind of get involved in Web3 world. So you go Nike, you go Adidas, you got companies like Porsche, you got luxury brands like Louis Vuitton, and all of them jump in. People get super excited that that's going to really help us and change the Web3 industry, but none of these brands actually care about the Web3. That's my personal view. I want to state that carefully to the audience as well. And I think they want to be the early adopters for the sole reason is that as a brand, again, marketing plays a big role here. As a brand, they need to be, and they must be at these places where the talk is happening. And they have massive budgets, which at the end of the year, if they don't spend it, that budget next year, they're not gonna see it. Yeah, well, a lot of them will call it R&Ds and whatnot. I don't see practical utilities. They just, it's not even adoption. It's just riding the wave of the hype. That's all. To me, because I haven't seen any useful case scenarios when you look at Nike, when you look at Porsche, which did not succeed as well, but Porsche is not a mass product, and it's not easy. They don't sell trainers, they don't sell shoes, they sell cars, which are not that cheap. But when you take like Epic, which pulled out and they decided not to do it, that was a couple of years ago, couple of years, 2 years probably, when NFT really started picking up, and they just pulled out. They said we're not doing it because that's not a practical use for them. So there's many things. I mean, we can't obviously we're not gonna have enough time to look at it under the hood and say, okay, this is what happened and why it happened. I see NFTs and Web3 going in a direction where art could be a good example. There are many people who have been heard by Spotify as, say, musicians, and they don't earn as what they should. And that's really, really good opportunity for them to be in an NFT world and a Web3 world where they're going to actually own what they produce. As long as the people who are behind the development team is really writing pretty clever, smart contracts, NFTs. That's what NFTs are. The non-fungible tokens are smart contracts. So they're not something super specific and special that people talk about. Is the idea of some revolutionary technology and NFTs, cryptos. These are smart contracts. It's a piece of code which says who owns what it owns. Can you license it? Can you not? They far too many things in detail, but in general, I see art industry and obviously big picture is metaverse, which that's the whole event for. Metaverse, we've already saw the Facebook pulled out Meta, and they decided not to carry on investing because the use case scenarios for metaverse are not as many as we think they are. A great example is education, creating big platforms where people can travel, educate, learn history, geography without even moving outside of their house. But at the end of the day, the idea is to get them out of the house and go there and actually experience, because you don't have the same experience through set of goals than real life. This is how I look at it.
As a small business owner myself, and like one of the things with like Nike and stuff like this, like
small businesses. I mean, obviously, marketing. When you go to marketing, small businesses do not focus on brand as much, and I think it's a mistake. But the obvious issues and obvious problems which arise is when you talk to small businesses, they don't, for example, branding, you cannot see the progress, you cannot see result. I cannot give you a metric and say, here it is, I got you 10 clients. Branding has nothing to do with that, which is a setup, part of marketing. And branding is probably one of the main components any striving business should focus on, because branding is to me, branding is probably the most important, not a metric, but a quality even as a person. Branding is how you present yourself. And the company should do that, because authenticity is about branding and creating that brand. When I go and buy a product, I know what to expect. That's about branding. That's
Yeah,
about
but branding isn't like metaverse inherent technology or quality. Like you said, like NFTs, and they have future. And they're
they do,
like,
but not in branding. I mean, NFT, what the NFT would give me if I'm an artist and I'm a singer or writer, NFT are just giving me the right of owning my product, my whatever I've created. If it's a piece of music, if it's content, they just give me the right to own that product, and I'm more flexible. But branding, it's just outside of NFTs. We cannot brand NFTs at the end of the day. I don't think you can brand NFT. So you cannot brand a the yacht club, the monkeys. I'm not I'm not a big NFT guy, but you cannot brand them. You can brand the company and what they stand for, but you cannot brand you brand them based on what you can. I mean, Picasso was the brand. It wasn't his drawings, isn't it? Picasso is the brand. Like Leonardo da Vinci is the brand.
yeah, but what do they stand for?
Well, exactly what they stand for. They didn't think. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci was, for example, he was extremely. He loved riddles. He loved figuring out. He was extreme explorer.
Yeah,
And
but does it? Maybe he was that as a person.
yeah, but we're going back in time, so I cannot probably never thought about what Picasso is standing for. He died poor, so
no, but like even like he didn't think about it. But again, he was poor, and as far as I remember, like a chronically depressed person. And
I know what I gave these names because when you look at the art they've created and who they are the brand, but the art is the NFT. So I want to just to make a comparison. When I cannot use them as an example of what branding is, because branding came out after them, and it became a thing because we've started exploring and learning a lot more in human behavior. We use a lot more in all of these fields, evolution, psychology, and whatnot, in marketing today. And to create a brand, obviously you need to send a message. At the time, I don't think that any of them thought about that, because their main, I think, strive and aim was to survive. There were different times, so I don't think that any one of them. And also, you're local, so we're talking today NFTs, Web3. This is big world today. Anything you do is like, even this conference, you could do it internationally. So you have to have a brand. So if it's local, I know who you are, and then I'll tell another person and whatnot, and I know what you stand for. Of my previous business, which is still own and operates a construction business, you stand for something. So that brand brings quality, or brings fairness, or brings, I don't know, cheaper prices. Depends who you are. For example, I mean, I can give you, but these are outside. Let's talk about metaverse, because these are like, branding is very hard for small businesses.
Yeah,
small businesses can benefit from NFTs. If I can give an example. Let's say my construction company, and I do a project, and my project gets successful, and I got a recommendation from a friend of the client, and the client who recommended me that friend would receive an NFT, which would give him or her, or the couple, or whatever they are, will give them a allowance, or will give them free fitting of a bathroom, or I'm just giving you an example of a small business which is outside of this world we live in. You can use that as an NFT. So that NFT would give him that right, and they would own it. They can come back to me and say, you know what, this is what you've issued us because we recommended your client. This is very good utility case, for example.
So, Pete, before the conference, obviously I gave you the company to use as a use case.
Oh, Room 3D, yeah.
Go through it live and online. So I will share my screen of the company's website so everybody can see it for themselves and it's not just words. And I'll be really interested to hear like what you think and how this company should approach its strategy, its marketing, branding.
I get it. The first thing I've noticed on Room 3D as a company, which they should, my view as a marketer, they should focus on. So if you can you go back, so you see what they say, can you just go accept all cookies so we can I want to show it to the audience.
Maybe they just see the video like real
yeah
quick.
no, just don't the video we can touch on the video, because what they focus on is a better place for better days. Now, as a user and as a human, you want to have an experience, and the experience is related to an emotion. And if you scroll through once, let's see that. I think it's a better day.
I think it's
Okay,
really
we have created a place now, like no other. So if you go and look at it, nowhere they talk about how you're gonna feel if you use their product. And I think this is where they have to pivot on, because me, like at the moment sitting at home, I'm obviously every person is a different set of rules on their own, but in general, we make decisions based generally on our emotions. And if they don't talk anything about how you're gonna feel if you, so they have to, when they sell you the product, and when you go in and when you log in, and I've created an account and went in, they create your virtual 3D room. They give you some basic, I've used the free version of it, and they give you the free options of like a couple of different rooms. Instead of telling me what type of room is, what type of a situation or meeting, they should focus on the feeling they're going to create. How would I feel when I, let's say I'm dressed the way I'm dressed, how would I feel, and what room actually would suit me best? How would I feel in that room? Am I gonna feel more powerful because I'm in a business deal? Am I gonna feel more? Can I relate more to the audience if I'm in a type of a room which is like a concert hall, or it could be? So they need to focus on the feeling, and if they sell to their clients feelings, how the client is going to feel as he speaks. Like I'm speaking at the moment, I'm in the house. It's Sunday, but I would rather be in a standing, maybe, or maybe still sitting in a panel in a hall and speaking to, let's say, whatever thousands of people. So they have to create that feeling for me while offering me that room, instead of telling me, oh, this is the type of room. And they don't talk about feelings anywhere. How would I feel? What emotion I'm going to experience? And I think that they should pivot in that. That's my view. If they do that, they'll have a better success, because when I look at their product, I'll associate that with how I felt if I've done it before. Obviously, if I'm a user who is speaking and I've done it before, I'll be like, oh, this is how I felt there. And I think this type of room, this type of a event hall would suit me best. And I think I'll feel the greatest there because I've already had that experience. This is my, that's how I see it as a product. And I think they can succeed in that. But that has to be tailored through AI, of course, understanding the human behind it, what the human wants to achieve. It's the same when you go to a dating app, they use how you feel. That's why they want you to keep buying their products. You want to talk to someone, you have to buy their products. Because that makes you, what did they say? Did they check me out? Did they send me a message? I want to know. So my emotions kick in and I'll spend the money for that. So that's how I see it. They should bank on the feelings of the user behind it. They have to invest more time to understand the user behind it.
So
the type of user. Yeah.
Are you saying this page, which they have right now, is not invoking any feelings at all to like make me as a user complete like purchase or like sign up for a free trial?
Well, I see a desperate woman who is probably pissed off because at home the atmosphere is not good enough and she wants to create an atmosphere. But we don't know anything about the person. We don't know if that person is a mother or is a no. Does she want to feel like a CEO? These are the emotions which would drive our decisions to buy a product and what's the reason behind it. So that's how I see it, because I don't see the environment they create. It could be great environment, but who is it directed to?
Well,
like if I take Web3, we're talking about Metaverse and Web3, they would rarely sell that to a Web3 user, for example, because Web3 users in general, the younger generation, they would love to be in a room with sleeping pods and things like that, which doesn't create that feeling. This is more of a corporate environment, and who is it directed towards? This is what I'm trying to say, is they need to figure out who is it directed to.
So you're saying right now you don't get the feeling who it is directed to?
Pardon?
Right now you don't get the feeling who it is directed to?
I personally don't. I'm just, this is my own experience. Of course, we all see through our own experiences. So I look at it professionally as well. And I think that there is no focus on the emotion of the human. There is a frustration, I get that. But how is that making me feel if I'm in that room? What is it? So they're both smiling because they can talk. And it's like, I really don't see who is it directed towards. This is, you need to have a product which is directed to specific audience, isn't it? I don't think there's a general product out there. It doesn't exist.
Okay.
Products to talk to specific audience.
But wouldn't you right now rather be in like a room in New York or like, you know?
As I said, they need to decide who they speak to. On my view, the way I approach life is that I want to be authentic. So for me, this room behind me and this wall is my marketing wall. I just love it. I don't want to be anywhere else, for example, because this is who I am. And if they don't know, if they want to speak to me, they're probably never going to get there. Because they don't know, you need to understand that as we always talk in marketing, is persona. What is the persona behind this? What persona you're talking to? Because I believe in authenticity and transparency and honesty and things like that. So all of this is related to me because this is who I am, and I don't care if, for example, people see my wall, because I'm very authentic in that sense. In other regards, probably I'm not as much, but in general, I'm just talking specifically, you need to know your audience. And people who work from home, people know they work from home. And when you join Zoom meetings, it's very common. Nobody cares as much. Some people do use branding. Is this product directed to B2C, B2B? I don't know. Looking at it, I cannot tell you. I'm just telling you as a professional. I don't know. Maybe it's my perception. I wouldn't do it the way they do it. I will have to evoke an emotion. I need to target that emotion. What happens when a CEO goes and works from home and he's got kids, he's got a dog, and they all run around? I don't see any of that. That frustration, I need to get it out of me. And how do I create that atmosphere around me with the 3D room? Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I see what you're saying. I feel like it's fair that this is the feeling which you get out of it. But on the other hand, don't you think they are trying to not invoke the feeling of change of you, like not being at home and being somewhere else, but rather a more human connection, which you would get by being in a room with a photorealistic representation of yourself, rather than just being like a bunch of screens where everybody is all fancying about like what is behind them?
Well, if you again, if you have 5 people and they're in a Zoom, probably might work. But if you have 50 people there in a Zoom, oh, it's never going to work. Or different, that type of because it's extremely big. And you, first of all, you as a human cannot actually pay attention to that many people. When you talk to certain people. This is my own view, is when I talk to specific audience. I talk to, even when you're in an event and you speak to a lot of people, you focus specifically in a part of the room, and you just need to direct your attention all the time to different parts of the room. You don't just generally sit there and look and like to kind of have your eyes wide. That never happens. And in personal conversations, you look at them in the eyes. Obviously, there's psychology behind it, where exactly and whatnot. That's the different conversation. But that's the interaction. And I think if you create that room, and I'm sitting to, because I've tested it, and obviously this the aura around you. It's like when he cuts it off, when they cut it, they cut you off the picture because they want to create that 3D effect. Over time, maybe it's going to be smooth as well, smooth and better. But for now, that's just, we all know it doesn't work that well.
We just got an interesting question, which is why are we listening to the person who is totally against the metaverse?
I didn't say I'm against the metaverse, am I? And that's the thing. We're talking about marketing, and metaverse has its utility. I didn't say it doesn't, but we're trying to, you cannot move people from the real life in the digital life, because human beings are social beings, and there's exchange of energy, and we go to events to have the exchange of energy. And you've seen how the people who work for even Facebook felt at it, because there is a specific small niche where they can target. That's my view, and I said in the beginning, this is the way I look at it, this is the way I see it.
No, I think I actually agree with you, like from a sense that I feel that the bubble of the people who are like on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and we are in this bubble who live in like NFT this, AI this, Metaverse this, Web3 this. It's easy to live in this hype cycle of like the metaverse is like the next best thing, but we're forgetting about the actual ramifications of the metaverse and the fact, and like what it actually is in practicality, and not in just in theory.
Let's give example to the person who asked the question. Now we're talking, and he said, why would he need to listen to me? You don't have to, number one. Number two, if I shut my screen off and I just talk and I put a avatar, I don't think that you pay attention. I don't think you're going to listen, because that doesn't create an emotion. That doesn't create anything. Of course, you can hate me, that's fine, but still an emotion. Even the hate, even the dislike, whatever that is, it's an emotion, because you can sense that person. But if you have an avatar and you have people who are very kind of 3D, because I've seen what so far Metaverse does, I don't think they're going to relate to them in any way. Because then if we talk about humans, and men are visual, women are more they kind of more emotional, and they listen more than men. Men, because they're visual, it would be really hard for a woman, for example, as an avatar, to even be able to talk to another person, because we all look alike. We're going to all be very similar. So we go out and we meet people, we accept them who they are based on that energy exchange. It's not only because you have visually see something, and there's exchange of energy. And that exchange of energy really, really rarely, and probably never would happen on Metaverse. But that's my view, and there's plenty of behavioral psychologists, neuroscientists which work on that field, and you can listen to them. I'm not any of them, but you can listen to their opinion about the emotional side of us, because we keep talking about those things. We want to help people, but we need to transition certain areas. Like education is a great example. I don't have a problem with that. Metaverse is a great opportunity for education to really revolutionize the whole education system, because the education system at the moment, we all know, it's not good at all. Advanced, quick AI can be involved, and we can live in the metaverse in that regard, and can experience things you can't otherwise experience. But I don't think I skydive, for example. I don't think I'll go in a metaverse and jump from a plane and feel that emotion in any metaverse. That would never exist. I'd rather go on a plane and jump from the plane with a parachute on my back. So that's what I'm trying to say. So I hope that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense to me, but we did speak at length about it before. But yeah, like again, we can talk about gaming as the main use case of using gaming mechanisms to achieve education, to achieve this integration and engagement.
Of course. But this is the thing, gaming on the other side, if people do understand the technology, gaming, what gaming does is actually gives us dopamine. And we don't want to be in the state of constant release of dopamine, because you wear off these receptors in your brain. And in the long run, people become more depressed, because we're trying to help people. And this is what we're shifting from marketing to something completely different. But as a human, you need to be able to say, you know what, I still want to be human. If you don't want to be a human, I will get that. So if we want to really go in a, I don't know, robotic body and just extrapolate our brains, which I don't know if that's going to happen soon, but you would probably one day, I don't know. It's a different story.
So Vlada is saying that she thought this session is about metaverse marketing. And while we did go on a few tangents about human psychology and biology and attention spans and the basics of marketing, I want to add, and maybe you'll have like something to say about it, is that, and especially like when we touched upon gaming, well, to be honest, like I think for the successful marketing of your products, your strategies will be more and more gamified. If you want to actually do something in the world to get your customers, you're going to have to engage them. And metaverse, to me right now, as it is stemming from like, well, the metaverse worlds are basically Roblox and again Minecraft and decentralized. The strategies seem to me gamified, and really, if we want to talk about like mechanics, I think we need to talk about like what gaming companies did and do, and see how they interact with their audience. And this is how it's gonna maybe not be similar completely, but be a reflection of what the metaverse marketing will be, because metaverse, in a way, is one big game. As a sense of like, in the same sense as life is one big game. Like,
I mean, that's the if you create a game, as I mentioned, we spoke on length as well. But if you create a game about history and you want to learn history, you want to travel to Italy, you want to see Rome, you can see Rome 500 years ago, 700 years ago. That can be recreated by the metaverse, and it's a great opportunity. You can go travel, and you can go on your screen, you can see through a VR, and then you can have the augmented reality pops up, and you can just scroll and you say, okay, I want to go back to Roman times, and you can click, and the whole new world will open. And I think that's amazing use of metaverse. It's amazing. This is going to be nothing better than that. And you can go back on time, because you can, otherwise you can never be, you're not going to be able to actually experience what that used to like and how it felt. Now, can you do branding 1,000 years ago? I mean, you can with the current products, no problem, but they would be very off. So you don't want to be in the Colosseum when they fight the gladiators fight, and they're throwing, I don't know, cans of Coke. So I don't know, would that be a use case scenario as a branding? Yeah, you can have it positioned somewhere as a brand, of course, but you're not going to see people drinking Coke. You can play as a game, you can do that, and brands can really adopt it. It just depends, what are you trying to do? Am I 300 years old brand, which want to say that 300 years ago when it came out, and I'm traveling again in Rome, or maybe in Milan, or any of those towns which the brand came out to existence, you can probably show how it became a brand, how actually that company started, and then, or in a real time, you can have these brands in the city position, they can bid on it and pay, and obviously see products coming up on the augmented reality while you play and go around and learn. There are many things you can do, but we're not there yet. We're far from there. I'm pretty sure when it's someone brings it to existence, people will be able to adopt it, no problem. We'll be able to use branding without a problem. But right now, brands do what exactly? What exactly in NFT? And Porsche was a pure example that they struggled quite a lot. What
Well,
benefit are you going to get?
Vlada is saying that gamification is one of many strategies in the metaverse, and I'm personally don't know how many is many here, but can you give in maybe 5 minutes as we're rounding down?
Yeah.
What are the other strategies for the marketing in the metaverse? Obviously, we have gamifications and airdropping NFTs.
At the moment, there's no specific strategy. Right now, marketing in general focuses on what? Marketing in Web3 is mostly events, mostly founders, people who actually need to clarify the ideas. I haven't seen real case scenarios for great brands in Web3. I mean, even if you take Ethereum, what's the marketing of Ethereum? Where's the marketing? What is Ethereum good for? I mean, I probably know, but are we marketing that? Is there marketing which would say that we can adopt Ethereum as a platform? A lot of EVMs, people, layer tools and whatnot. Again, we don't want to go technical. We need to say, if you use that technology and blockchain, you can actually develop apps. We all know you can do that, which would help us move and shift the whole market to a direction where we're going to be faster, more secure, we're going to own the data. But marketing needs to talk about those those ideas instead of terms, sorry. So we need to talk about those ideas, and there's no specific, all the marketing companies I've met so far as well, they question them, how different is your Web3 marketing? Nobody can tell you. There's no difference. You just market a product, you keep talking about it, but in what sense? Where they're going? We don't have brands here. We don't have these brands which stand for something. They want to change things. I mean, FTX wanted to change things. What happened to their branding?
Could you talk about like micro content, live video selling, personalized offering, tokenized marketable content?
I mean, marketing content. Right now, mostly people focus on content marketing, and they use influencers as the easiest and quickest way to get where you're heading, especially in NFT, in Metaverse. And I mean, Metaverse just died out for a bit. because AI at the moment is the focus on everything. And if I talk, I mean, tokenization, I'm not, for example, expert on tokenization, but we need to say, okay, this is like a company which can create shares like every other company, and tokens would serve as shares. So if you own a piece of it because you like the company or you want to participate, we can use that strategy and be like, instead of talking about these tokens and what they are for and people do not get it, you can say, just own a share of the company. And that's what it's going to be. Yeah, it doesn't matter how many millions and how, because there's no point to explain, like Arbitrum came out a couple of days and they got X amount of millions and billions. What do you do with it? You become part of this network and you own a share, and you can contribute, you can participate in decision making. And we need to change how we talk about marketing and say this is what you can do with a brand. Like, I mean, it's not a brand, but they just came out with their tokens, and that's how we can use tokens instead of talking. Again, we're talking about tokens all the time, coins and tokens and cryptos. We just have to say, this is my company. You want to be part of it. We want to do something great. We want to change how we operate and do finance. To participate, you can own a share, and it can contribute to us. NFTs, again, NFTs, most of the people in art, they use that already. So they can say that you're going to own my art. You can sell it, you can rent it, and I can earn instead of paying to Spotify or waiting Spotify to pay me back because you pay your subscription fee. You can subscribe to my newsletter and I can airdrop you NFT, which would give you 30% for my tickets. But these are like, again, that's all marketing can do at this stage, because either we had companies like Groupon, which would do similar things for the other companies, or you go, there's an NFT which you're gonna own. But I don't know how much I can expand on that, because marketing in general, as I said, is towards the person you're selling it. If we're talking about Web3 and we have community behind it, you cannot target these people individually because you don't know anything about them. They're part of a certain community. Let's say they like Nike and they're part of their community, but you can't target them because you don't actually know who these people are. At this stage, because Web3 limits our information, because you own, supposedly the user owns the information, so I cannot get the hands of that information to understand what it stands for. We got cookies, like you open the website, and these cookies will give me at Web2, they'll give me the information I need. Where you go, what you open, how long you stay in Facebook, and what do you click.
I was thinking about, again, I was thinking about not from the standpoint of Nike, but as me being a small business, and I don't really have digital products in the metaverse space, and more like other than NFTs, there aren't really that many digital products in the world. And what effectively I see most people do with metaverse marketing, in quotation marks, is spend lots of money to first market the platform in the metaverse, so people onboard this platform, so they go from quotations Web2 space into Web3 space, and then they spend lots of money to market in the Web3 space a digital product, which is
because that's how they want to sell it.
But
so
that's
I'm getting
gateways. Why would you take people from like one realm into another to market something which they can do easily?
Well, because what Web3 stands for is Web3 would change the Web3 world. So practically the status quo needs to be changed. I don't have a problem with that, and I agree with that. And what we're trying to do is we use it today onboarding these companies in Web3 world and the metaverse. But we haven't created that use case scenario in the metaverse and say, because if you create a playground in where I live, and the playground is great, and I put a free gym there, I don't have to market it at all. This is great. That helps people. They're gonna go in and I don't have to do anything about it. They'll find out very quickly. But we create a metaverse which is at the moment is based on just gaming, and not like I've got two children, 15 and 17. 2 years back, the 15 was 13. He installed it and deleted it. Roblox is like, sorry, my language. This is rubbish. And he's like, there's not any cue. He can't do anything. He plays Fortnite and whatnot. But so we want, and we believe in the youngsters because they are the ones which would adopt that technology, so we can create. We onboarding those companies would give us the future. So practically, because younger generation is they're the ones who are the future users of these technologies. But even the younger generation struggling to stay there because they enjoy just the side of it, playing for a while. They play to earn. That was a good opportunity, but they cannot sustain that business model because you need to have enough advertisers, you need to have enough money. A lot of things are linked, and how I market it. Marketing trainers in Roblox, probably. To what degree? I like them, but I still need to order them to really put them on my feed. And as a digital art, you can have them and you walk with them, of course. But again, that's part of the dopamine circle. It's not a real case scenario. I cannot use that in real life.
Well, Pete, thank you very much. We're at the end of the conversation. I enjoyed the fact that it was controversial at the end, and people had a few words. If you read the Q&A.
Yeah, I understand that, of course.
No, but that's nice. That's I think it's important that no matter how many different opinions there are, we don't we don't oversaturate ourselves with a singular opinion of like well, I don't want to say like, but yeah, like, so one singular point of view. It's better that we have different points of views which challenge our own opinions, and through this challenge we may find holes in our positions or like strengthen our points of views as well. So like if some people don't agree with something said about marketing or like campaigns, it's not a problem. I'm just talking to the audience right now. It's part of the fact that we're community, and metaverse is Wild West where everybody has an opinion right now. There are a lot of new technologies coming right now, and really through discussion of different points of views, we can get to actual practical and useful use cases of it all. Not if we
when you're inside the bubble, this is what happens. When you're inside the bubble, you cannot see what actually is real. So you have to pull yourself outside of it to understand. And we recently had a very close friend of mine who was long in the metaverse and all of that. He sold his cryptos. He's got a completely different view of the whole market right now because he's not invested anymore. He has no NFTs. He's got no crypto anymore. And he's like, I don't want to say the words because it's like his views of the whole thing is like, I can't believe that I've been in this bubble. So it's just how it is. I'm not saying I'm right. Everyone's got their own opinion and they have to do it the way they think. But as I said in the beginning, if people think that people have changed because we have an NFT and metaverse today, they're mistaken. Human behavior hasn't changed for about more than 2, 3, 5,000 years. It just hasn't. We cannot change it with 10 years of metaverse. It's not going to happen. But well, hey, that's the idea. Be controversial. I like being controversial. I don't have a problem.
That's good. That's good. Well, that's as good as a point as any to end on. Again, thank you very much for coming. Thank you everybody for coming and hearing us talk about like marketing and the metaverse and all the different tangents. Where can people find you? And
I'm not here to brand myself. Again, I don't do that. And I told you before. I'm on LinkedIn as Pete Petrov. And whoever wants to have an argument with me and debate, of course, is more than welcome. And that's it. I'm not doing it to brand myself and sell services like most people do. So I'm going to have business of my own. So I'm pretty good. And I really hope those same people who want to, and they believe in NFT and metaverse, find those use case scenarios. I really support them, but find real case scenarios. I've been to many events, really many events. Just hold there. That's about it.
Sure, sure. Well,
for now, this year is going to prove the best of all, because one by one they just disappear.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and
okay, no worries.
And
Okay.
everybody else will be moving to our next session pretty much right now. So yeah, thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Bye bye.